You think pulling away will make her chase you. It won't. In fact, it does the exact opposite. It hands her the permission slip she was already looking for to disappear completely. Her nervous system exhales, detaches, and tells her, "See, I knew it. It's easier this way." But here's the part that's going to frustrate you even more. Reaching out too much doesn't work either. Texting more, explaining more, trying harder, all of it activates the exact alarm system you're trying to get past. She doesn't feel loved by it, she feels cornered by it. So you're stuck. Pull away and she disappears. Move closer and she runs. Every option feels wrong. And here's what nobody is telling you. The thing that actually works feels so counterintuitive that most men never try it. They think it's too soft, too simple, too low stakes to possibly matter. But it is the one thing that makes an avoidant woman stop running and start wondering about you. It's called the soft contact method. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what it is, how it works, and how to use it word for word, step by step, starting today. If you've ever felt completely powerless watching someone you care about pull further and further away, stay with me. Because what I'm about to share changes that. Before we get into the method itself, you need to understand what's actually happening inside her, because if you don't understand why she runs, nothing else in this video will make sense. Avoidant people are not cold. They are not heartless. They are not emotionally unavailable because they enjoy it or because they want to hurt you. In fact, research published in the World Journal of Biology, Pharmacy and Health Sciences, drawing on the foundational work of Hazan and Shaver, confirms that dismissive avoidant individuals often feel emotions just as intensely as anyone else. But they have learned, usually from a very early age, to suppress and distance themselves from those emotions as a survival strategy. At some point in her life, probably in childhood, she learned that closeness leads to pain, that needing people leads to disappointment. That opening up means making yourself vulnerable to someone who might leave, who might criticize, who might not love you the way you need to be loved. So she built walls. Not because she doesn't want connection, she desperately does, but because somewhere deep in her nervous system, closeness feels like danger. So what happens when you show interest in her? When you text too much, or express how much you like her too quickly, or make her feel like you need her? Her nervous system begins to panic. Not because of you personally, but because intimacy is being offered and her internal alarm system goes off. Get out. This is going to hurt. This person is going to want too much. And so she creates distance. She goes quiet. She makes excuses. She becomes suddenly busy. Now here's what most men do wrong in that moment. You feel the distance and you lean in harder. You text more. You ask what's wrong. You try to fix it. You maybe even tell her how much you care, hoping honesty will break down her walls. But what that actually does is confirm her fear. It says to her nervous system, "See, this person is going to consume me. This is exactly what I was afraid of." And she pulls back even further. So you try the other thing. You go completely silent. You disappear. You play the game. And sometimes space helps, but strategic silence, the kind designed to manipulate her into chasing you, often backfires too. Because an avoidant woman who feels chased will enjoy the space. She'll use it to decompress and detach. She'll tell herself it's easier this way. And what started as something real fades into nothing. That's where the soft contact method comes in. Here's the most important thing to understand, and once this lands, everything else clicks into place. An avoidant woman does not run from connection. She runs from obligation. She runs from the feeling that someone needs her in a way she cannot meet. She runs from the heaviness of expectation, the weight of someone's emotional world being placed on her shoulders. A 2024 study on attachment avoidance and intimacy decline confirmed that avoidant individuals are specifically motivated to protect themselves from perceived emotional demands, and that this defensive response is not conscious cruelty, but a deeply ingrained regulatory strategy built to manage anxiety. In other words, she's not rejecting you. She's protecting herself from what closeness has historically meant to her. This distinction matters enormously, because if she's running from obligation, not from you, then the question changes entirely. The question is no longer, how do I make her miss me? The question becomes, how do I become someone she doesn't feel obligated by? And the answer is presence without weight, warmth without desperation, connection without the unspoken message of, I need you to respond in a certain way in order for me to be okay. When you show up in a way that is light, genuine, and carries no desperate energy, you stop triggering her alarm system. And that's when something shifts. Curiosity begins to replace avoidance. She starts wondering about you instead of running from you. Safety is the key, and for an avoidant woman, safety doesn't look like declarations of love or promises of the future. Safety looks like someone who can be warm without demanding warmth in return. Someone who shows up without needing her to show up in a specific way back. That is the entire foundation of the soft contact method. And now, let's break it down, step by step. Step 1, the clean pause, a real stop, not a calculated one. Before you do anything, before you reach out, before you send any message, before you make any move, you need to give yourself a genuine pause, not a strategic one, not a calculated number of days based on something you read online. A real pause. Time where you are not focused on her. Time where you are actually living your own life, doing things that matter to you, being around people who fill you up, pursuing things that make you feel good about yourself. This matters for 2 reasons that are completely different from what most people think. The first reason, it changes your energy. When you reach out to someone from a place of genuine okayness rather than desperate need, it comes through in everything you say, in the words you choose, in the tone of your message, in the feeling behind it. Avoidant people are extremely sensitive to emotional subtext. Research on avoidant attachment consistently shows they develop a heightened ability to detect emotional demands from others precisely because this was a survival skill built in childhood. They can feel need through a screen. They can sense desperation in a 3-word text. So you need to be genuinely in a good place before you reach out, not performing okayness, actually being okay. The second reason, it gives her actual space to feel your absence. If you've been in constant contact and then suddenly pull back, she won't immediately miss you. But over time, if what existed between you had real substance, she will start to feel the gap. She will notice that the warmth you brought is no longer there, and that noticing quiet, gradual, almost involuntary, creates the opening you need. How long should the pause be? It depends on the situation. If things were newer and she pulled back suddenly, a week or 2 is usually a reasonable baseline. If it was a longer relationship with real depth, give yourself more time. But the number matters far less than the quality of how you spend that time. Are you actually working on yourself? Are you actually getting to a place of genuine peace? Or are you just white-knuckling through days, counting down until you can reach out again? Because one of those will make your outreach land. The other will make it land with all the wrong energy, and she will feel the difference immediately. Step 2. The soft contact message. Getting it exactly right. This is the most important part of the entire method, and it is also where most men destroy everything they've built during the clean pause with the wrong message. So let me be very specific about what soft contact looks like and what it absolutely does not look like. Soft contact is not, "Hey, I've been thinking about you a lot." That puts pressure on her immediately. It tells her that during your time apart, your mental space was consumed by her. It invites her to feel responsible for your emotional state. Soft contact is not, "I miss you. Are you okay?" The first 3 words are entirely about your need. The question puts her in the position of having to manage your feelings. Soft contact is not, "I just wanted to check in." That's code for, "I'm thinking about you and I need to know where we stand." Avoidant women can read between lines better than almost anyone. And soft contact is absolutely not a long message laying out your feelings, your thoughts about the relationship, your hopes, your fears, all of it poured into one text. That is the emotional equivalent of someone running at her full speed. Her instinct will be to dodge. So what is soft contact? It's something small, something real, something that has nothing to do with the relationship and everything to do with her as a person. It might be something that genuinely reminded you of her, not in a romantically loaded way, just in a natural, human way. Something like, "Hey, I finally went to that place you mentioned last time. You were right. It's incredible. Light, real, warm, asks nothing of her, doesn't demand a response, doesn't carry weight. It just says, 'I thought of you, no big deal.' Or it might tap into a shared interest, something you both loved. A brief, natural, genuine share. Something you might send a good friend. The tone is everything. It needs to feel relaxed and unhurried, like you have a life you're living, and you just happen to think of her in the middle of it. And, crucially, the message should not need a reply. Not because you say no need to respond, that's actually pressure in disguise, but because the message itself is complete. It ends without a question that demands an answer. It's a moment of warmth she can receive without feeling like she owes you anything. When you remove that expectation, something interesting happens. Most people actually want to reply because the pressure is gone. Step 3. Holding the line. The most dangerous moment. This is where almost everyone collapses. And I want you to be prepared for it because the soft contact message works. She responds. And suddenly, all that pent-up emotion comes rushing back. You want to pour everything out. You want to get answers. You want to have the big conversation, what went wrong, where things stand, what this all means. Every instinct is screaming, now. Talk about it now. Don't let this moment pass. But with an avoidant woman, that is exactly the moment to hold back. Because the conversation she's having with you right now is casual. It's light. It's her testing the water, checking to see if it's safe. If you're the same person who felt heavy to her before, or if something has shifted, the moment you turn a light exchange into an intense emotional conversation, you've answered her question. And the answer you've given her is still the same, still heavy, still a lot, and she will pull back again. What you do instead is match her energy. Keep it light, enjoy the conversation. Let her be the version of herself that shows up easily without walls, because the stakes feel low. Laugh, share, be interesting and genuine and present. And resist with everything you have the urge to bring up the past, the future, or the state of things between you. Because right now, this moment is doing more work than any conversation you could have. It's building evidence in her. Evidence that being around you feels good. Evidence that you're not going to chase her, or corner her, or make her feel guilty. And the more of that evidence she collects, the more she wants to keep coming back for more. This requires a level of emotional regulation that is genuinely hard. Holding back when every instinct says to lean in, being light when you feel heavy. It's okay to acknowledge to yourself how difficult this is. In fact, that acknowledgement is part of the process, because it forces you to be honest about what's driving you, and honest about what you actually want from this. Step 4. The elevation point. Showing standards without playing games. This is the step that takes the soft contact method from a reconnection tool to something that actually shifts the dynamic long term. And it's the step that most people miss entirely because they're so relieved she responded that they forget who they are. The elevation point is this. After a few positive exchanges, after you've rebuilt some warmth and ease between you, you do something completely unexpected for an avoidant person. You show her that you have standards, not aggressively, not confrontationally, but in a quiet, confident, self-respecting way that communicates, I like you. And I'm also someone who knows what I want. For example, if she starts going warm and then pulls back again, you don't chase. You don't ask why. You just continue living your life and let the silence speak for itself. No panic. No desperate follow-up. Just a man with a life, carrying on. Or if she reaches out and suggests getting together, but in a vague, non-committal way, you respond with warmth, but you bring clarity. Sounds good. I'm free Thursday evening, if you want to lock something in. You're not demanding a commitment. You're just being someone who respects their own time enough to make real plans rather than hover on a maybe. This matters enormously to an avoidant woman, because most of the men who pursue her eventually abandon their own sense of self in the process. They become so focused on her that they lose their own groundedness. And she senses this, and it ironically makes her want to run more, not less. But when you hold on to yourself, when you show her that you have a life, that you have standards, that you won't collapse into her, something in her nervous system shifts. She stops seeing you as a threat to her independence. She starts seeing you as someone worth being around, someone who won't consume her, someone who is actually safe to get close to. If you've followed the method, the clean pause, the soft contact message, holding the line, the elevation point, here's what can happen next. And you need to be prepared for all three. The first scenario, she starts showing up more consistently. The messages become more frequent. She starts suggesting things. She starts opening up. She starts to feel like the person you originally connected with, maybe even more so, because now she feels safe. Now she knows you're not going to swallow her whole. This is the outcome the method is designed to create. And when it happens, your job is to let it. Don't rush it. Don't suddenly switch from soft contact to intense relationship conversations. Let her set the pace. Reciprocate with warmth. And over time, as trust builds, introduce more depth gradually, always leaving her room to breathe. The second scenario, she responds here and there, but never quite commits. She stays in that in-between space, warm but distant, interested but unavailable. And here's where you need to be honest with yourself. How long are you willing to wait in an in-between space? How much of your energy are you giving to someone who can't decide if she wants to be in your life? Soft contact is powerful, but it cannot drag someone forward who has no intention of moving. Some avoidant women, the ones who have never done any work on themselves, will never fully come forward, no matter what you do. And you have to be willing to accept that. Not as a failure, as information. The third scenario, she comes back strong suddenly, all in, texting constantly, making plans, showing all the warmth she seemed to hide before. And this is actually the trickiest scenario, because it's easy to mistake a surge of enthusiasm for a permanent shift. An avoidant woman who hasn't done her own work will often cycle. She comes close, it gets too real, she pulls back. You give her space, she misses you, she comes close again. When she comes back strong, enjoy it, be warm, be present, but watch for consistency over time, because enthusiasm in the moment is lovely, but consistency is what tells you whether things have actually changed. Now here's the final thing I want to leave you with, and it's the most important thing in this entire video. Do this work for yourself first, not for her. Yes, it might bring her back. Yes, it might shift the dynamic in a profound way. But the person who benefits most from everything we've talked about today is you. Because you're going to take the version of yourself that comes out the other side of this, the grounded, self-aware, genuinely whole version, into every relationship you ever have. The soft contact method is not a technique layered over anxiety. It is an expression of someone who has done the inner work to be genuinely centered and who chooses, from that place of centeredness, to extend warmth to another person without making that warmth contingent on a specific response. And when an avoidant woman who is used to people either chasing her or playing games with her encounters that kind of presence, it stops her in her tracks. It makes her feel something she doesn't usually feel with someone who is attracted to her. It makes her feel safe. And safety, for an avoidant woman, is the most powerful force in existence. Because what she has always wanted underneath all the running and the walls and the distance is exactly what everyone wants: to be close to someone without losing herself, to be loved without being consumed, to choose connection because it feels good, not because someone is pressuring her into it. When you become that person, the one who offers closeness without weight, she doesn't run from you anymore. She runs toward you, not because you played it perfectly, not because you executed every step correctly, but because you became someone worth running toward. Start there. Start with yourself. Do the clean pause, not for strategy, but for your own clarity. Send the soft contact not from desperation, but from genuine warmth. Hold the line emotionally, not to seem cool, but because you actually have a life worth living. Show your standards not as a game, but because you respect yourself enough to know what you deserve, and then let the outcome be whatever it's going to be. Because when you come from that place, when you are truly rooted in yourself, the outcome almost always surprises you in the best way.